following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
Happy holidays, everybody. 'Tis the season to be surprised. Especially you, Larry Zbyszko. I'm going to make you famous. Forget about filling up Shea Stadium, Bruno Sammartino. Forget about beating Nick Bockwinkel. Forget about all those things that you never stop telling anybody about. Because on the night of the 28th, your name is going to go down in infamy. And you know why? You will have handed the NWO Nitro, the show that almost single-handedly has changed the industry as you know it. It should have been ours from the very beginning. We got cheated out of it. Not this time, not this time, definitely not this time. See this foot? That one right there, Larry. Size 10, E. That's the foot that I'm going to put right alongside of your head, Zbyszko. It's going to hit you right about there. It'll be the last thing that you feel. Now, maybe a little lower. Oh, you won't see it. I promise you. You won't see it, but you will feel it. Right about there. And it'll all be over. This one here, it's all about speed. This one hits hard, that fast. It's all about planning. You haven't planned very well, Larry. It's all about smarts. You haven't done your homework. It's all about training. This one. All of the things that you haven't done. I'll put that one away. Don't need it. And you know what happens then? You get beat. You get embarrassed. You get humiliated. You're going to be humiliated. The man who lost Nitro. The man who had the opportunity to keep the NWO off the air. The juggernaut that has taken over for the last year and a half. You alone had the opportunity to make it all go away. But you're going to blow it because you didn't do your homework. You underestimated your opponent. You, Larry Zbyszko, are not a legend in your own time. You're not even a legend in your own mind. You're a legend in your own fantasy. I've got the entire NWO behind me. We've got our own referee, Bret Hart. J.J. Dillon, what were you thinking? What were you thinking? But I want to thank you. I really want to thank you. Because, Larry, this is going to be just too easy. This Monday night, a very special holiday treat for NWO fans around the world. And I'm not going to tell you what it is because, after all, 'tis the season to be surprised. Is it not?
The preceding announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
welcome back to Retro Wrestling Games Presents. I'm your host, Juan Cena, and with me, as always, is Luke Martin. How you doing tonight, Luke?
I'm doing wonderful.
Fantastic. I dig it, man. On this episode, we're going to take a look at WCW NWO Revenge for the Nintendo 64. This one won our Twitter poll, reaching 64%. So you guys wanted it, and we are delivering it. Now, this game is the sequel to 1997's WCW vs. NWO World Tour. It is a THQ Aki release. This game I would consider to be the best wrestling game released at the time. Up to that point, wrestling games in North America were released in various quality. Some of them pretty good, some of them god-awful. But this one, when it was released, was the best wrestling game you can get in North America. So the game was released in October 1998. You know, you're coming off that really, really great 1997 year. Although, 1998 WCW, although they were making a lot of money, some of the creative decisions would ultimately lead to their downfall. Now, for me personally, this game is dripping with nostalgia. I played this game all through 1999, and 1999 is one of those years that people have in their lives that you kind of wish you can go back to. It was a glorious time for myself. Everything was good in the world. I had a beautiful girl on my arm, and I was hanging out with some pretty cool people, and it was glorious. My favorite sports teams were doing exceedingly well at the time. Again, and being 17, 18 years old, what more can you really, really ask for? It was fantastic. So this game for me, dripping with nostalgia. Me, myself, as I stated on this program previously, I am a nostalgia junkie. I can't get enough of it. I cannot get enough of it. And nostalgia being one hell of a drug. Again, it often makes things seem like it was better than it actually was at the time. But this game, to its credit, is just as good now in 2018 as it was in 1998. Again, the controls for this game are super solid, super great controls. The graphics are great for the time. Again, they're still in that kind of 3D era, the first generation 3D era. Some of the visuals are not as crisp and clean, not HD, obviously, that later games would have. But for a WCW game, it was fantastic. I mean, the other two WCW games that came out were not that good. Super Brawl being exceptionally bad, and the World Championship Wrestling that came out for the Nintendo Entertainment System wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good. I can't call a game that had Eddie Gilbert in it terrible, because it had Eddie Gilbert in it. The grappling system, the controls of this game is probably what makes it fantastic. They've not been able to duplicate the quality of controls on any recent modern wrestling games. I think they perfected it with this system, and this system lasted all the way from World Tour to Revenge to WrestleMania 2000 to No Mercy, and then it even got ported into some of the early Def Jam games when they came out. It was so good. Unfortunately, the controls for modern wrestling games are iffy at best. I think that's the appropriate term here. Now, this game did introduce a lot of really cool things for the first time. I had actual arenas, so I had Monday Nitro, Starrcade, Bash at the Beach, Sold Out, Super Brawl, and Halloween Havoc. I had a championship mode where basically you win different championships, like the Cruiserweight World Television, World Tag Team United States, and the World Heavyweight Championship. So you would basically beat a bunch of wrestlers, and then you would win the championship, and then you would unlock any new wrestlers. So that was really cool and kind of innovative at the time. Again, you look at a game like WWF WrestleMania for the Super Nintendo, you basically just had exhibition matches, and that was it. No story, nothing, and you just had matches and matches and matches. But this game, there was a way to win the game. You could unlock all the wrestlers, and you could win all the belts, and you could put weird guys on the belts, so you can have Brian Adams win the world title, which is awesome. No Ric Flair in this game, though. He was fired during the time this game was being developed, and by the time he came back, it was too late to add him to the game. So I'm going to quickly go over the roster, which is going to be chock full of WCW goodness. Okay, so the roster is as follows. You had Hollywood Hogan, The Giant, Brian Adams, Scott Hall, Scott Norton, Buff Bagwell, Eric Bischoff, Scott Steiner, Kurt Hennig. NWO Red and Black, you had Kevin Nash, Sting, Lex Luger, Macho Man Randy Savage, and Conan. Raven's Flock, you had Raven, Lodi, Riggs, Sick Boy, Reese, and Kidman. WCW, you had Roddy Piper, Dallas Page, Goldberg, Bret Hart, Chris Benoit, Rick Steiner, Fit Finlay, Booker T, Perry Saturn, Disco Inferno, Jim Neidhart, British Bulldog, Glacier, Ming, Van Hammer, Canyon, Yuji Nagata, Larry Zbyszko, Barbarian, La Parka, Stevie Ray, Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero, Psychosis, Rey Mysterio Jr., Dean Malenko, Juventud Guerrero, Ultimo Dragon, Chavo Guerrero, Alex Wright. And then you had a bunch of wrestlers that they're based on real wrestlers, but obviously the names have been changed to avoid copyright. So you had the Aki THQ Man, who is a 100% fictional character. You had Shogun, who was Kawada. The Executioner was Kobashi. Dr. Frank, which is Jumbo Shiruda. Jekyll, which is Dr. Death Steve Williams. Maya Inca Boy, which was Akira Tai. Hawk Hana, which was Tenru. Kim Chi, not that Kim Chi, but another Kim Chi, was Koji Katao. Day Ken was Onita. Bukowski was Mil Mascaris. Ming Chi was Tarzan Goto. And Hanzo Man was Hayabusa. You're really kind of stretching the names on that. Jesus. There was also managers in the game. You had Jimmy Hart, who accompanies Ming and the Barbarian. Kimberly Page, who accompanies Dan Dallas Page. You had Miss Elizabeth, who comes out with Eric Bischoff and Randy Savage. Vincent, our boy Virgil, who comes out with Scott Norton, Scott Steiner, and Bryan Adams. Rick Rude, who comes with Kurt Hennig. Dusty Rhodes, who comes out with Scott Hall. And Sonny Ono, who comes out with Yuji Nagata. So a stacked roster here. Probably one of the best wrestling game rosters of all time. I mean, some of the current rosters have like 1 million wrestlers on it, so you kind of expect these games to be, to be huge. But at the time, rosters were, that big. I think they had like 12 guys for earlier games. And, this one boasts a pretty big roster. Now, there's no create a wrestler mode in this game, but you were able to change the tires, so you can add NWO shirt to it when you wanted. You can change their gear, you can change masks, which is pretty neat. But no create a wrestlers. We would see that later on with WWF, WrestleMania 2000, and then obviously No Mercy. But from time to time, these guys can come out with weapons, so you would start off a match with La Parka, and he had his steel chair with him, which is amazing. Other weapons include chains, a suitcase, and black bat, a silver bat, a trophy, a microphone, a stop sign, a trash can, and a broken table fragment. For 1998, this game is incredibly deep. Again, the only negative about this game is the sound quality. The sound quality is not the greatest with this game, but it is on cartridge. It's not on, it wasn't on CD, so you're not getting that sound that you may want out of this game. But overall, I think the game is fantastic. Still holds up to this day. And then at the time, it was highly rated. This game was getting 7 out of 2 on GameSpot, 8 out of 10 on IGN, which is fantastic. GamePro gave it 4.5 stars. This game was, at one time, the best-selling N64 game of all time. I mean, it has been surpassed. It really shitted on WWF Warzone by Acclaim, which was a crappy game, by the way. We reviewed that game earlier, and that game was shitty. I would call this game VPW 1.5, because it's a little bit different than VPW 64, and it's not a port or clone of VPW2. VPW2 had more stuff added to it, but I would call this VPW 1.5. So, Luke, what are your thoughts on this game?
Well, I was trying to think of what I was doing in 1998 or 1999, and it probably wasn't good, 13, 14, so I know it was fun.
Late 90s was an awesome time to be alive. I mean, it was fantastic. You're talking, carefree 90s, a pre-9/11 world. Everything was going great. Everything seemed to be doing well. My New York Yankees in the middle of their dynasty. The New York Knicks, still relevant in 1998. They are no longer relevant in the world of basketball. But again, for me, it is one of those times where, there's always different times in your life you want to go back to. You want to go back to the birth of your children, maybe the first couple months of your marriage, 7 or 8 years old, and you have that fantastic Christmas. For me, 1998 going into 99 is one of those times for me. And what game was I playing at that time? WCW NWO Revenge. Pro wrestling was good at the time. Picture that. Holy crap, pro wrestling was good. Again, we're in the middle of the Monday Night War here. WCW 1998, 1999 starts to decline in terms of the creative aspect, although in 1998 they're still making money. 99 they lost a crap load of money. And do yourself a favor and never, ever, ever watch WCW 2000. Just don't do it. Even if you're a huge fan of Lance Storm, because Lance Storm was all over WCW 2000.
I don't think I would ever watch WW or WCW after 98, to be quite honest, because 99.
Rough. Again, people who love and defend the Attitude Era, like love 1999 WWF, especially. Like, they will defend that like I defend the Dungeon of Doom. Although 1999 tends to be ridiculous. Goldust. Remember when the Goldust was the artist formerly known as Goldust and all that fucking crazy? You're thick in Vince Russoism, right? You're thick in Vince Russo land here at this point. And I know he gets a lot of shit, and deservedly so, but he also gets a lot of credit for whoever's doing the show. And one thing that I notice when Vince Russo is writing is that everyone is doing something. Now, the quality may be at different levels of what they're doing, but there's no one left behind. And he was really good at doing that, making sure that everyone was in an angle. You kind of cared about everyone. That's why some of the lower card guys from the Attitude Era that you have really fond memories of, would it be an Al Snow or a Val Venus or a Hardcore Holly and some of these guys, where now you look at their undercard and you're like, I don't care about Titus O'Neil at all. I have a hard time caring about their main events at all. You know what I mean? So that's where Vince Russo gets a thumbs up for me. Some of his views on modern wrestling and wrestling in general gets a thumbs down for me on most parts, because it reeks of disingenuousness, if that's even a word, at least for me. Well, yeah, late 90s was a fantastic time. Wish I could go back. And again, we go back to nostalgia, and that's what we do this series. Everything we do on this channel is essentially based on nostalgia, right? Nostalgia is a thing, and I, at my core, think that nostalgia is a hell of a fucking drug. Because, like most drugs, you're kind of chasing that high. You're kind of chasing that feeling that you had during that time frame, right? And that's why people tend to watch old cartoons and they listen to old music and they play old video games to kind of recapture that feeling. And we never quite get it, but we can come pretty close. But the thing about nostalgia, and it's always a double-bladed sword to me, is that, like, especially you look in the 80s, right? And everyone remembers all the greatest TV shows from the 80s, right? All the great movies that came out in the 80s. People don't remember all the shitty ones that came out too. Like, I recently just watched a sitcom. It only lasted a couple episodes, and it's early 90s, right? And it has Jennifer Aniston in it, and it has the girl from Blossom in it. Like, they had a TV show. And it was the shittiest piece of shit I've ever seen in my entire life. It was awful. I watched this other sitcom where, like, family situation, mom takes off, I don't know what happens to the mom. Mom either takes off, mom dies. So it's the dad raising the kids, and he has to hire a housekeeper, but the housekeeper has magic powers and she's a witch. Like, what the fuck was that? Like,
Mary Poppins?
That's what they're going for, like a modern version of that, and that show just fucking sucked too.
The early 90s were pretty shit.
Well, you had good shows like In Living Color and Martin, and
there's just too many earth tones. Like, people wearing just brown. Like, don't wear the color brown.
It's a response to the hyper neon that was out prior to that.
I prefer neon to earth tone. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the early 90s.
I went to Disney like in 1988, and I am wearing a lime green biker shorts. Again, mind you, I'm like 6 or 7 at the time, right? I look ridiculous.
There's nothing wrong. I had black biker shorts with blue stripes on. Those were the fucking coolest. Those were the coolest fucking shorts. This is like 89, 90.
You still wear them to this day, I assume.
I mean, yeah. I do all the time. There's more. I cut them so it's just like a G-string banana hammock now. But
that's the way to
that's nostalgia if you want to talk about it.
You know what's funny about WWF? WWF like adopted neon, but it was like 3 years late. Like, they were doing all this neon shit like in '93. You watch WWF 1993. they're doing all this neon shit, and it's like completely ridiculous. And it's like, this is late. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's like in 1989 when they had Run DMC, but Run DMC had been popular like in '85. They weren't really that popular in '89. Like '89, you had like 2 Live Crew and NWA and Public Enemy, and
you have like NWA and stuff. Run DMC's not what you're going for at that point. I don't know. Who knows what they're in early '90s. WWE is pretty awful.
It was bad. I mean, when it comes to Nitro, and again, this is during the height of the Nitro era when this game came out, is that people tend to forget this, and I think the narrative has been changed a little bit. But in 1995, 1996, no one was talking about no WWF. Like, WCW was what everyone was talking about. No one gave a shit about no motherfucking Isaac Yankem. Like, no one gave a shit about any of that stuff. It was all WCW. Like, I live in New York, the home of the WWF. And at the time, no one was giving no shits about it. Because WCW at the time had a superior product. Now, I can sit here and I can pick it apart all day. And I can say, hey, listen, the matches on the shows were fantastic. You always have like your Ultimo Dragons and your Rey Mysterios and your Dean Malenkos, and you had all that shit going on too. And then the top of your card with the NWO, although it was cool for a while, having a match and then having NWO come in and jump everyone and beat everyone up, and that got old pretty fast. It was still much better than what the hell the WWF was doing at the time. You had like Bret Hart versus John Paul Lafitte on TV. You're like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, they didn't really have, like, they had some okay stuff, and then once they jumped ship and went to WCW, I ended up watching. I started at the beginning of the Monday Night Wars, so I'd hop around. I ended up watching a lot more WCW just to see what would happen, because it was like, I think people forget how, like, original the NWO was. Like, you didn't know what was going to happen. Obviously, I was like a kid, so I was even, like, really into it, but it was just like, you really didn't know what was going to happen. Like, it was just crazy. It always seemed like something was happening, and it took WWE a while to start doing it, with like Steve Austin and stuff like that. But with the NWO was kind of like, I gotta watch it to see what happens, to see what the NWO does. Like, I remember one time they had like everybody in the ring from WCW and everybody in the ring from NWO, and they were just fighting. And then like Sting came out, and it was ridiculous. And he was like freaking out because they were building up to the Hogan Sting match. That's awful. But anyway, it was just really neat to see that, and WWE had nothing like that at all.
Like for that time period, like WCW was cool. Like, it was the coolest shit. And I come from a time where, wrestling in the 80s was huge. Everyone was talking about it. When we get to the early 90s and you were wearing a Hulk Hogan shirt, you were most likely getting beat up in school. So a lot of us wrestling fans who went through the golden age of wrestling in the 80s and then went into the early 90s had to put away our wrestling shirts, had to put away our wrestling action figures, and kind of go into hiding, because you're not going to have friends if you're talking about wrestling. You know what I mean? It just wasn't the deal. You were getting made fun of. You would have to go in the closet. I say going into the closet. A lot of us went into the closet. Some of us didn't escape the closet. I didn't escape the closet until a couple years ago. Because we got ruthlessly made fun of, and it was like, you still watch that? That shit's for kids. You still watch that? That's fake. You still watch that? It's like, And even when it exploded again, kids were wearing wrestling shirts to school, the NWO shirts, or the Austin 316 shirts to school. It's like a lot of us was like, nope, and we're kayfabing dudes. Like, you like wrestling? No, I used to watch it as a kid. I don't really watch it anymore. And you watch that shit every week. We had kids in my school, right? We had kids in my high school. And they didn't listen to this. I apologize in advance, but I thought it was weird at the time. I still think it's weird. So this is 1998, 1999, around that time period, right? Mm-hmm. I'm more focused on getting girls than walking around with an Austin shirt. They would come to school wearing an Austin shirt. They would have a championship belt with them, and they'd be carrying around Mick Foley's book. And I used to watch them. I'm like, that's horrifying. That is horrifying. What are you doing to yourself? Although it was cool for the masses, in my particular high school, it still didn't cross over all that much. So if you talk wrestling, you talk wrestling on the sly. You know what I mean? Yeah. And there was so many kids who got into it during that time who wasn't as watching for as long as I had. That was like, they're saying crazy shit. Like, you don't know what you're doing. There were a lot of people that didn't know what the fuck they were talking about because they were casuals, right? Although I wouldn't consider myself a smart fan because I was reading PWI, and that's how I got most of my wrestling knowledge from. Find out later that was all kayfabe and made up anyway. It was like really hard pill to swallow for me. It was rough.
It's a hard life.
Oh, it's awful.
Oh, say the game itself. Now we're slowly getting back around to what question you asked me. I liked it a lot. I really liked World Tour when I was a kid. This was just kind of a continuation of that.
Yeah.
I really liked playing Ultimo Dragon and putting people in the Dragon Sleeper and submitting them. But it was neat because you, like you said, you kind of had a purpose. So you'd start out with one title and you could get all of the titles as long as you were a cruiserweight, I think. You could basically win every single title in the game, and it kind of felt like you had some place to go because a lot of wrestling games didn't really have that feeling at all. And then also it was just really cool because you had a huge roster of people. It was, I don't know, I just really liked it. Like you said, the controls are really good. Everything about the game was really good, and it was definitely the best. Because even like they had like Super Nintendo and they had like Royal Sega, like Royal Rumble and Monday Night Raw, and those games were okay, but they weren't anything like this one as far as like story. I think that's something that they really lost in the modern games is they try to like put a story in there, but it's really like forced and stupid. And they try, if I want to try to wrestle for a title, I have to do a bunch of dumb BS. It doesn't feel like it's a logical progression for me.
The Authority wants you to lose this match. Go lose this match. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, why would I do that? I don't want to have to like play 50 million rounds. I don't know. It's the way that they're going now is like they don't even do it. The whole next concept, or they start you out and you slowly have to like increase, but you're going up against people that are like way better than you. It doesn't make any sense. Or at least this game like knew what it wanted to do, gave you a premise, and then stuck with its premise, which was obviously was like real or whatever. Like it was still kayfabe, but now the games are stuck between like breaking kayfabe and being kayfabe. But anytime I have to go in and lose a match because that's what you want me to do, or like I have to lose a match, like there's a point in the games now where it's like I have to lose the match in order to advance. Like, why do I need to lose a match? Like, what is that? Why?
Running into motherfuckers like Goldberg and shit. Well, I think that's the problem with the. First of all, we have a couple of issues with the modern WWE games right now. Is that they're essentially roster updates and usually changes for the worse when they come out every year. Yes, the graphical quality is a lot better. Yes, but you're going to tell me in 20 years that like WWE 2K17 is going to fucking hold up? Like everyone's going to be wax poetic and nostalgia about WWE 2K18? No. But people are still talking about revenge to this fucking day. Period.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's a good game to play. Like it didn't even do anything fancy, and just you have to give like any sort of game that you play, like any sports thing is really that's what WWE games are. Yeah. And these games were treated like that. Like people really like they were considered like good fighting games because of the strategy and like stuff like that you had to do in the game.
Revenge won fighting game of the year that year too. Yeah.
So that's like the very few wrestling games do that. Now you wouldn't do that, but it's because it's dumb. It doesn't make any sense now, or at least that game did. Like, you even in a sports game, you're literally doing the same thing over and over and over again. The problem is that the modern games don't make it fun, and it feels really purposeless, and the controls aren't as good, so it's frustrating. And the nice thing about that game is it was difficult, but it never felt like you got cheated out of winning. So it was hard.
They weren't going to put you on 3-on-1 handicap matches to make it difficult. Because there's strategy.
Right.
I mean, you can do stupid shit too. Like you kept on throwing your opponent out, and they roll back in, and you catch them again. Like, there's ways, but you learn that over time.
More than it is whatever the new games are. So
yeah,
crap, basically. But yeah, I think it's a really good game. I really enjoyed it playing. I was kind of coming out of like enjoying wrestling, but it's like these types of games are the reasons that I kept playing them, and I think that I don't know if these games get enough credit for people, like you said, more interested in other things as they got older, especially in teenage years.
Yeah.
But like they still enjoyed wrestling, but they like just played these games. There's a number of, especially for whatever reason, like Nintendo games, like in 64 and stuff like that, and it kind of kept that going. I really enjoyed playing those games, and that's kind of what kept me engaged in wrestling. And actually, when I was watching it, it helped me enjoy it better. Like it made Ultimo Dragon more interesting than he was on television. I mean, he's a good technician and stuff, but he didn't have much of a character. But just playing like as him and having a available character, because most games up to only had a really small few wrestlers, and that was the nice thing about WWE or WCW too, is you had such a large roster to choose from, like
stars galore, Hall of Famers.
Well, and you just had like the international wrestlers, like you had like Will Parker. So like WWE did nothing. Like it was just didn't have that type of feel to it. WCW treated them with some modicum of respect, at least somewhat, and better than I think the WWE had up until this point. Probably behind the scenes it wasn't as nice, but at least they brought those guys up to do what they did, and that's what made it even more interesting. Is you had a lot more choices in who you wanted to follow and what they were doing, and the matches were different. They weren't the same match at all. It was pretty cool to see that, especially with the cruiserweights.
Yeah, if you watch like the first hour of Nitros, like if say that's all you watched was the first hour of Nitro, like the amount of like quality hidden gems that you would find in the first hour of Nitro was completely insane. Like holy shit, like this Guerrero versus Chris Jericho match is fucking amazing. Yeah, your main events would kind of usually shit the bed. Your upper mid card would historically kind of be not that great, unless it's like DDP and Macho or something like that. But that undercard is fucking amazing, and I think that's what kept a lot of people engaged, because you have your hardcore work rate junkies. There's something for that. People who want to see the NWO, there's something for that. People who like old WCW with Flair and the Horsemen and Sting and Luger, that was there too. If you like Lucha, that's there. If you like Japanese wrestling, fucking Muda was on the show. It's like, holy shit, it's Muda and Liger. Holy shit, look at that. So it was a lot of, it was everything. So you would sit there and you watch the show. It's like, okay, this segment may not be for me, but I know this next segment might. WCW had issues when they started going to that third hour, much like another wrestling promotion that we know, that 3 hours of TV.
I don't know what I'm referring to, but I think that's the thing too, is that up until now, you really haven't had that many different styles. Like even the Attitude Era, there wasn't a bunch of different styles getting featured, but now you have people getting featured at the top of the card that are, and that's what I think that is making WWE more successful now, is because they brought in so many people with so many different styles. That's what people like to see. Like I know if I see an AJ Styles match, it's going to be interesting. I don't have to watch John Cena and Randy Orton in every main event until I die.
Yeah.
So, or
if they never wrestle each other again, I'd be a happy person. Just
I don't think they need
fresh matchups, please, people. Fresh matchups. Now, in terms of this particular game, again, it was the last THQ Aki game for WCW. The WWE was looking at this as like, nah, we need to step up our game, so they were able to get the license. They were able to take actually THQ Aki away from WCW and have them produce their next two games, which were WrestleMania 2000 and No Mercy for the N64. And No Mercy is highly regarded as the best wrestling game of all time. I think that's debatable, but that's just me. But this style and this engine, people still play it to this day. People are modding No Mercy in 2018 and installing roster updates. So right now in 2018, you can play as John Cena taking on AJ Styles because they're still modding this fucking game. And it starts with World Tour, and then it starts with World Tour, and then it goes right to Revenge, and then it goes to 2000, and then it goes to No Mercy. So No Mercy, they're continuing to mod to this day, and this is the strength of this engine. And I think they got into a lot of issues once they started going away from this. I mean, some the SmackDown games, some of them, you know, there's always various qualities in terms of the SmackDown games. Like I think Here Comes the Pain is probably the best one out of that grouping. That's just a personal opinion on my part, but these THQ Aki games are fantastic. And then yes, 2K bought THQ, and I think they really need to take a year off and start from scratch and build a brand new game. Or WWE, why don't you make another game? Like why do you only get one WWE game? Why can't we have a different WWE game? Why can't we have a retro WWE game? They've done it in the past. They've done it with Legends of WrestleMania. They did it with WWE All Stars. Those games are questionable quality too, but at least there was something different. And I think a retro style Aki engine WWE game right now at a lower price point, of course, you want to do it for $19.99 or $25.99 or whatever, would be fantastic. Like look at the new Fire Pro game. The new Fire Pro game is at a low price point, and they're constantly making that game better.
Yeah, what I think too that they need to do is they need to they released the port on Steam, but if they really want to make a good WWE game, they need to do something like they had an EA MMA game, and it wasn't like great by any means, but it had a good way that you progress. So you started out, and then you start in like a really low level promotion and work your way up to whatever made up Japanese promotion they had, and then Bellator or whatever. But at least you had like a logical progression, and then that's how you built up your character. So I think that they need to start doing that. With everybody knows now there's other promotions. You don't have to use those other promotions. You can make up whatever bullshit you want. But you don't have to. It doesn't make any sense for my guy to be a complete bag of ass. But he's in next, and then he has to face like Kevin Owens or something.
Because next, right? Those guys are supposed to be the best wrestlers in the world that are not currently on a main roster, right? That's the concept, right? So why are guys coming in the next being completely shitty? It makes no sense.
Right. So it doesn't make any. So yeah, if you started out and then you had to like work to get signed to next, and then had to work to get to the main roster, it'd feel like it mean a lot because you would like win little titles here and there, and like develop your character more, and then do that. That to me would be a better idea than what they're doing now. But most of the time, I don't know. I prefer playing the career mode. So if that's not the demographic they're going for, I mean, I don't know who just plays the game to play the Royal Rumble, but maybe people do, or people just go to unlock the I don't know, play online or something. I'm not sure.
Like, you know what I use the game for? I make my own universe, and I think that's a portion of the game that they need to start considering. That 2K should be like their next tagline is create your own universe, right? And really get into the creative wrestling, really get into the creation suites, and start really pushing that as something you can do. Make your own promotion. Make your own wrestlers. You're not stuck with the WWE wrestlers. You can do what you want in the games, but I don't think they use that as a way to kind of push how good their new game is. They kind of like, oh, we have Seth Rollins on the cover, and we're going to do the kind of cheesy career mode that we always had, and we do have a universe mode, but we're not going to really put anything much into that and what have you. And I think if they put more emphasis on creating your own universe, because I see a lot of people on YouTube, I see a lot of people on Twitter that they have their own wrestling promotions out of this game. They have arenas with their own creative wrestlers. They're not even using wrestlers from the past. They're just using their own things. They're playing online and online championships and stuff like that. And that has to be a bigger part of the game moving forward than like, oh, listen, we're gonna have a get this virtual currency so you can unlock a new boot or a new hair design. Like, get away from that stupid shit. Get away with all the fucking microtransactions and the DLC and all that kind of nonsense, and get more focused on the competitive aspect of the game for online multiplayer. It's probably the best way to go. Now, I wouldn't really play that way, but that's the way that I think most people should be playing at this point.
Well, I think that they should do that, like build your own promotion, build your own universe, and you can. So if you make your own, like you can create everything. So create your own promotion. Like, so in the career mode, you can like they created promotions, but you can download promotions or whatever, or
Yeah.
you can create a universe and then you can, rename it whatever you want. Still use like WWE licensed wrestlers, make it a WWE licensed game, and just call it WWE Universe, and then all you're saying is that WWE is the premier company in the world, and then use their wrestlers. You don't have to, and you can do deal. I think it's stupid to do DLC. Yeah, like you said, like get a boot or something. I don't mind DLC for like adding wrestlers, especially when like you couldn't get so and so.
Especially if it's a new wrestler that came on, like Bobby Roode just debuted. Oh, we're gonna give you a Bobby Roode like in a month. Don't worry, guys. But it goes to show you that they don't have to release these games every fucking year, because I don't think there's enough difference from one year to the next. And historically, when you go 1 year to the next, the game's getting worse. It's not getting any better. Like, I really liked WWE 14. I thought that was a really good game. I really liked WWE 13. I thought that was a really good game because they had the WrestleMania stuff, and you can relive, and relive some of the WrestleMania main events. Or you go through Austin's career. That was a good one. You had the feud with John Cena and CM Punk in one of them. That was really good. They've gotten completely away from that, and I thought that was one of the big selling points for someone like myself who loves wrestling history and love old school wrestling. That we're not doing this. It was like,
I don't know. Hopefully that'll change. I don't know. I think that they're trying to do that marketing to like the casual fan, but no casual fan is buying that game. Like, they're not getting new people to a wrestling game that doesn't already watch wrestling.
Right.
So I don't know why they try to make it for like a casual. I mean, and it's just like the career mode in 18 is worse than 17. So that just says
I don't even know that's even possible, because 17 was pretty bad. I thought 16 was alright.
16 was alright. 18 is it's off. Like, it's just straight off. So it's just it's dumb. It makes no sense. Like, I couldn't even, like, it was so boring, because you have to do, like, you start out and Baron Blade is like your agent or whatever, and so like your road agent basically, and he tells you like what matches, like he basically I don't know, it's awful, and it doesn't, like, it makes you do stuff, so like doesn't make any sense, like if you're face or heel. I don't know. That whole promo system needs to either get completely reworked or just go away, because it's stupid and it makes you sound like a dumbass. They should just get rid of the promo system or whatever, because it's awful, and they need to have some sort of something. Like, it's dumb. And again, they need to do like an angle for you. Like, me just like running out and randomly attacking somebody to start a feud is dumb. That's not a proper angle. There's no build up. There's no reason even why I'm attacking them, and I'm a face. Why am I attacking?
Right, there should be like bosses and mini bosses, and like even if you play like some of the boxing games that used to come out back in the day, like you would get to a certain level and then you can change divisions, and your aim is to win the championship, and you have you have bosses. Like, they used to do this one thing with the Undertaker, like the streak, like beat the streak, and like they just OP'd, overpowered the Undertaker to see if they can beat him. That's pretty cool. That's fun, but they don't do any of that shit anymore.
I still play the damn, like, I've been playing like the boxing game. What the fuck is it called? Fight Night Round 4. Like, I played that. I still play. I just played that before we were on the phone. But it's good because you start out, and then you go up, and that's what's exciting. Like, everything that you do, you're trying to move up the ranks. The crazy thing is that it's like it's hard because you can like do really well and move the ranks really fast, but then you start like you don't have as many stat points, so you become like you're like, I'm a 80 overall against like a 98 overall. Like, I cannot, I can't go out and fight Sugar Ray Leonard, even though I'm the third, rank or whatever. So it gets really difficult because you have to like take lower matches. So there's like, it's not just like I'm just gonna hurry and try to beat all these guys, and it's a lot harder. So I think that I just need to do something like that. But at least that game, like, I fight because I'm either I have to fight somebody, but I have to like see how many training days I have, like mess up my stats, and so there's all these like factors that go into what you're doing. Whereas like WWE, I'm like, I guess I have to attack Samoa Joe. And then I have to attack, whoever the fuck, Baron Corbin. Go on from there. Like, it's just, there's no, like, it's just kind of shitty. They either need to, I think doing a creative mode, like doing that, and like giving you like a full access and creating your own promotions and stuff like that. Yeah. I don't know why WWE would give a shit, because they still get money no matter what people do. And if you're having everybody buy the game, even people that don't enjoy WWE, they're gonna still buy the game. Out there.
So in terms of Revenge, it's probably in my top 5 in terms of wrestling games of all time. Highly recommended. You should get all the Aki THQ wrestling games. So you get the 6, right? There's VPW, there's World Tour, there's Revenge, there's No Mercy, VPW 2, and then there's WrestleMania 2000. So get them all, and if you want a couple extra dollars to spend, get the Def Jam games too, because those games are pretty good too. So I think overall, when it comes to this particular game, again, nostalgia aside, because I'm very nostalgic for this game, I think it's one of the greatest wrestling games of all time, period, bar none. It should be in everyone's top 10. It literally should be. There's no reason for this to not be a top 10 game in any top 10 lists of wrestling games of all time. So I just want everyone to keep that in mind, and go out and play this game. It's awesome. That's it. Just play it. Alright, guys, so we are officially out of time. So for Luke Martin, I'm Juan Cena.